Imagine this. A pirate crew, once fierce lords of the sea, now reduced to shadows on their own pirate ship. The hold empty, the water casks dry, no land for weeks, no prey in sight, escape impossible. They had chosen this life to defy kings, to vote on every decision, to share every coin equally. More democratic than any empire that hunted them. Yet here, in the vast indifferent ocean, democracy itself begins to crack. What happens when the last biscuit crumbles? When the rats grow too few even for the hungriest? When thirst burns hotter than any cannon fuse? History whispers the answer in fragments, court records, survivor testimonies, the private logs of condemned men. They ate the leather from their own shoes, boiled until the hide turned to jelly. They trapped and roasted the rats that had once stolen their crumbs. They gnawed the leather straps of powder horns, the rigging's frayed ends soaked in brine. And when even those scraps vanished, the silence on deck grew heavier than chains. Eyes darted, voices dropped to murmurs. The pirate code, that fragile pact of fairness, faced its darkest test. Would they draw lots, as merchant sailors sometimes did under the grim custom of the sea? One life for many, a voluntary sacrifice, or so the tradition claimed. Or would the strong simply take from the weak, proving that even outcasts revert to the brutal law of empires when survival strips everything bare? These were not hypothetical fears. Accounts from captured pirates include whispers of such moments. Men vanishing one by one, their absence explained only by hollow cheeks and averted gazes. The unsettling truth emerges slowly. The same rebels who mocked royal tyranny could, in extremity, mirror its cruelty. Freedom ends where the body betrays the soul. And yet, some crews held together longer than any naval vessel might have. Their democracy didn't always collapse. It bent. It endured until it couldn't. What would you do? Adrift with men who once called you brother. The golden age of piracy, 1715 to 1725, saw men like Blackbeard, Calico Jack, and Bartholomew Roberts command ships where every sailor had a vote. They elected captains, divided plunder equally, even compensated the injured from the common fund. No king, no navy, no lord owned them. Yet the sea owned everything. A pirate ship could sail for months without sighting land or prize. Supply chains didn't exist. No friendly ports waited. When storms scattered the fleet or calm trapped them, hunger arrived quietly at first, then mercilessly. Survivors' accounts from trials in the 1720s paint the picture. Edward Lowe's crew, after a long chase, drifted for weeks with nothing but hardtack gone moldy and water turned green. They began with the obvious. Boiling shoe leather, chewing canvas sails until gums bled. Rats were hunted like treasure. A single one could spark fights. When animals vanished, they turned to the ship itself. Spars were scraped for the pitch and oakum soaked in it, boiled into a foul paste some claimed kept them alive. Others boiled sea water with gunpowder, hoping the saltpeter would fool the body into thinking it had nourishment. But the real terror lay in what came next. Whispers from the Admiralty records and pirate confessions speak of the long drift. A ship becalmed near the equator, sun beating down, no wind for 10 days, 14, 20. Thirst first, then delirium, then the unspoken question hanging over every man. Who weakens first? Some crews drew lots fairly. The loser offered his life to feed the rest. A grim echo of the custom merchant sailors followed when shipwrecked. Others simply waited for the weakest to die naturally, then used the body. No ceremony. No record beyond the trial where the survivor described it in flat, broken sentences. These were the same men who had rebelled against the brutal hierarchy of naval ships, where captains flogged for sport and pressed men served for life. Pirates had sworn never to become that. Yet starvation tested every oath. The code promised justice. Hunger promised only survival. And in that gap between promise and need, something ancient stirred, the same instinct empires had always relied on. As the days blurred into an endless haze, the pirate crew's murmurs turned to accusations. The captain, once elected for his cunning, now faced shadowed glares. "We followed the code," he'd say, voice cracking like dry timber. But the code didn't cover this void. One account from 1722, during the trial of Robert's men, reveals the fracture. A ship adrift off the African coast, provisions exhausted after a failed raid. The quartermaster, keeper of fairness, proposed drawing lots. Slips of paper in a hat, one marked with death. The loser would volunteer, or so the ritual went, his flesh sustaining the brothers. Yet doubt crept in like fog. Was it truly fair? Or a mask for murder?
devilry is that
Some
in our
refused, clinging to the pirate ideal.
ship, laden
No
with
man above
forgotten
another.
treasures.
Others, eyes wild with
to me
hunger,
shimmering in the
whispered
heat.
of taking the sick first.
Give
The
it air,
cabin
you bilge
boy,
rat!
perhaps, or
Not
the
a
wounded
chance,
from
you
the last
scurvy
battle.
dog. It's
Tension
mine.
coiled
Hand it
tighter.
over.
A fight erupted
to
over the
pry it
last
from me
swallow
cold
of
hands.
rum-laced water.
So
Knives
be it.
drawn not for enemies but kin. The captain intervened, pistol cocked, reminding them of their oath. We rose against tyrants. We won't become them. But the sea laughed. Delirium set in. Men saw phantoms. Ghost ships laden with feasts. Mermaids promising rain. One sailor, driven mad, leaped overboard, his splash a brief mercy. The turning point came in the dead of night. A weakened man vanished from his hammock. No splash, no cry. Dawn brought uneasy silence. Fuller bellies among a few, and averted eyes. Had he sacrificed himself? Or been sacrificed? This was the shock. Pirates, champions of equality, unraveling into the savagery they fled. Democracy's fragility exposed, noble in plenty, monstrous in want. What does it say of human nature? When
Rations
freedom's
be scant,
defenders
every
devour
grain
their
must
own
count.
to cling to
By the
life.
whole it stretched.
The ocean stripped
By equal
illusions,
shares and none gets
leaving
more.
only the raw
Fair's
will
fair
to
then.
endure.
Hold your
In the
peace,
depths
the
of that
measure's set.
ordeal, a few crews
Lads, that night
defied
we
the
stormed
abyss.
the merchantman.
Take the
Silver
tale
gleamed
of
in the
Captain Howell
moonlight.
Davis's
I
men.
handled the
Adrift in
guards.
1719
rats.
after
We
a
took the hull
storm
and
shattered their
vanished.
masts.
Grand tale.
Provisions gone.
Good times.
They rationed the
Prove stars
unimaginable.
are vast above.
Bones
Our
from
course
old
is set.
catches, ground to powder
Perils
and
ahead,
mixed with
but also
seawater.
treasure.
Yet
Stand
unity
firm.
held barely.
To
The
the
quartermaster
horizon for
enforced
golden
the code
glory.
with iron will. No man ate alone. Shares measured by the grain. They spoke of past glories. Raids on Spanish galleons, gold spilling like blood. Stories staved off madness, binding them as hunger clawed deeper. But layers peeled away. The strong grew gaunt. The weak faded.
Sail
One
low.
night, a mutter rose. Why wait
Heave,
for
ye dogs,
lots?
hoist the
The sea
colours.
takes who it wants.
Rope slipping
The
again.
captain,
I'm
sensing
trying, Captain.
fracture,
Me grit's weak.
called assembly under
Pull
stars.
harder. Don't let it
We are
drop.
pirates,
There she
he
goes.
declared, voice a
Northern
rasp.
passage is our
Not
only
beasts.
chance.
We
It's
chose this
suicide.
freedom.
The ice will crush
Let it
us.
not chain us
Crew
to
won't stand
savagery.
for it. We need a boat.
Reflections haunted
the
them.
scraps. It's evenly
Had they
split.
fled
Then we
empires
decide
only
now.
to forge worse tyrannies? Power, they realized, wasn't crowns or whips. It was the belly's demand, the throat's burn. Fairness? A luxury of full holds. Escalation came with dawn's light. A sail appeared. Enemy or salvation? Weakened arms hoisted colors, but delirium blurred judgment. Was it a merchant ripe for boarding? Or a naval frigate? The crew debated, votes cast with trembling hands. Democracy persisted even as bodies failed. In the end, it was a prize ship, laden with food. Men wept as they boarded, devouring in silence. But the cost lingered, bonds tested, illusions shattered. Some deserted at the next port, haunted by what almost was. This deeper implication unsettles. Rebellion's fire burns bright in abundance, but starvation reveals the human core. Fragile, primal. What empire couldn't break, the sea nearly did. And in that, a philosophical echo. True justice demands more than codes. It requires the will to uphold them when all else crumbles. The prize ship's hold burst open like a wound finally lanced. Bread, salted meat, barrels of water.
Steady
Enough
now, lads.
to quiet the
Don't spill
howling
a drop.
inside
Aye,
every
Captain.
man.
It's heavy
They
as lead.
ate in near
Pass
silence.
it quick, I'm parched.
The sound of chewing louder than any
That's the
cannonade.
stuff.
Yet
Savor
victory
it, mates.
tasted
We've
bitter.
earned this.
Those who survived
Here, mate.
carried the shadow forward.
Taste of the sea.
Some whispered in
Aye,
taverns
been
years
craving
later.
This.
The code held,
Good haul
barely,
this
because
time.
one man refused to draw
That
the
it
marked
was.
slip,
To
because
many
another
more.
shared his last ration, because the captain reminded them who they once swore to be. Others spoke less, eyes distant, mouths shut. The twist history hides. Most pirate crews that faced the long drift
This
did
fire's
not
a
descend
blessing.
into
My hands are
cannibalism.
finally
The
thawing.
records show
Aye,
restraint
the
more
meat's near
often than
ready.
horror.
The prize ship's
Grim
larder was
rationing,
stocked.
voluntary
Better than
sacrifice,
hardtack.
mutual endurance.
Pass it here.
They
I'm
proved,
starving.
in the darkest hours, that outcasts could cling to dignity longer than the empires that branded them monsters. The sea tested them to breaking. Few broke completely. What does that mean for us? That justice, fairness, brotherhood, these fragile things, are not luxuries of safe harbors. They are choices made when the stomach screams and the horizon stays empty. Pirates, for all their violence, sometimes chose better than the navies that hunted them. Perhaps the real rebellion wasn't against kings. It was against the animal inside every man. Think on that next time the world feels small and cruel. If this hidden corner of history stirred something in you, the tension between freedom and survival, the thin line between brother and beast, drop a comment. Would you have drawn the lot or refused? Share this with someone who needs to remember what real defiance looks like. And if you're still here at this hour, hit subscribe. More secrets wait in the dark.